your way to explain to someone who you are, what you do. Because like when you apply to a job, let's say, or when you apply for any position, for a program, for a master's program, whatever, um, they don't know you. They can read your resume, but resumes can lie. They don't know what sort of work you've done. So it's really important to show your work, and that's why we are here doing this webinar. So a little bit about me before we start. I'm Shivam. I am a human-centered design engineer, did my master's from UPenn. This is me in that picture. Currently work at an EV charging startup called Gravity. And yeah, the thing about me is that I'm always building something. I'm always building either a project or some teardowns or some educational content. I'm always building something. I am very like I live and breathe this world of making new things, presenting your work, communicating your ideas, and taking just things from concept to production. So that's a little bit about me. And today we'll discuss these things. The first one I really want to discuss because there are a lot of people who are job hunting right now, and it is important to know the recruiter's perspective. So I'll quickly go through what a recruiter thinks. Last year, I hired an intern, and I'll talk about my hiring process or like my thought process. Then we talk about what is a portfolio. So we're going to discuss the fundamentals today. I'm not going to talk about the exact tools or exact, you should use Lovable or Framer, PDF versus website, all those kind of things. I'll just touch upon it, but mainly it's about the fundamentals. What are the elements of a good portfolio, and my most common portfolio feedback, and how I suggest using feedback. So these are the things we'll talk about today. Recruiter's perspective, very important. So last year we opened a mechanical design engineer intern position at Gravity. The posting was active for 1 month. We had 300 plus applications. That's a really big number to scan through. And then we are looking for people from 0 to 3 years of experience. So in that one, so the process, so the posting was active for 1 month, and then the process went on for another 1 month. I screened about 100 applications plus everyone who reached out to me on LinkedIn. So I think that's one important thing, that if you're applying somewhere, find out the people behind that posting, find out the people behind that company, the engineers most likely, because the hiring managers are already busy screening applicants. But if you can reach out to an engineer, show your work, then you can get a direct referral. So I screened 100 applications plus everyone who reached out on LinkedIn. I interviewed 10 applicants out of those 100. And here's what I think. Um, all the applications like were above my expectations, I'd say. There's a lot of good people out there right now. All the 10 people that I interviewed, I would say were good enough for the job. They would have done a good job regardless. The final call we took based on the location of the candidate. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that sometimes when you get rejected, it's not really your skill, your talent, or anything. It's just some criteria that the companies have. I was biased to interview candidates who had a portfolio. So if someone just applied with a resume plus a portfolio, guess who gets the interview? Because I really get to vet the process, right? I really get to see what has this person, like, what have they done? What sort of projects do they have? I did not expect any EV knowledge. So we are an EV company, but I did not expect EV knowledge. That's again a point to say that you don't need to know everything. You just need to be your authentic self. You just need to present what you have presented well, and that should be good enough. And candidates with good passion projects naturally stood out. I think that becomes a really good talking point during the interviews, and like to hammer down on that to understand the motivations of the person, to understand whether they would work well at my place or not. So this is a little bit of context from a recruiter's perspective. I think a portfolio is a make or break deal there, because I get to be more sure of what this person brings to the table because I've seen their work. So, what is a portfolio at its core? What is this document? Why does it matter? What if I have to break down to the absolute fundamentals of what is a portfolio, then your portfolio has only two goals. First is to land you an interview. Second is to let you drive the interview. And in some cases, it could be land you a call with the client and let you drive that call, let you land an interview with the admissions committee and let you drive that interview. So it's not about explaining each and every detail of your thesis project. It's not about showing every craft exploration you've done. It's not about explaining your resume. I've seen countless portfolios where just people elaborate on their resume. If their resume has a bullet point, the portfolio has a paragraph on it. It's not about showing your travel photography skills. And like, don't ask me how many times I've seen random things in portfolio. Your portfolio is super focused, super intentional. The goal is to spark interest. The goal, because when the recruiter or anyone is scanning through the portfolio, they give like 10 seconds to just scroll through it. Nobody reads a single word. Everyone just goes through the images. If the images spark interest, if the images align with them, that's when you get a second shot. In the second shot, maybe they go through the portfolio in more depth. They read a few things, but still not each and every line is read. They still focus on the images. And that's when you land an interview, and that's when they're trying to understand, they're trying to question, they're trying to make sure that you really know your thing. You were the one who did those projects. So the goal of the portfolio is to spark interest. It's a marketing tool. You're trying to market yourself. um, your portfolio should be focused and intentional. So what I have done is I have 8 projects built out, and whatever company I'm applying to, I select top 4 and use those to apply to that company based on relevance. So if I have a EV related project, I would pick that project every time for any energy, EV, or like, energy management, storage, all those kind of companies. So think about what the other person would like to see out of your projects. Obviously, don't try to do a new project for every applicant, but sort your projects so that it sparks interest on the other side. So what are the elements of a good portfolio? I think this is really important. I built a framework on what makes a portfolio a good portfolio, and I think it boils down to 4 things. First is the type of projects. Second is build vocabulary. Third is storytelling. And fourth is visual assets. Again, this is about more physical portfolios or mechanical design engineer, industrial designer, tangible objects. So let's go through each one of them and the spectrum that I see in the portfolios that I review. So type of projects, I have these screenshots from my own portfolio because I didn't want to take from anyone else's without their permission. So I have just some snippets of each element from my portfolio. Types of projects, it ranges from only academic projects to personal passion projects. I think academic projects hold the least weightage because think about it. If I'm scanning an application. You are applying for that role. You're applying for that job or that project. There are many people from your batch also doing the same. They went to the same classes. They studied under the same professor. Or let's say they studied the same curriculum. They have the same sort of projects. So I see so many projects that are just the same. Oh, CFD analysis of a certain thing, or like finite element analysis of a certain thing. I know it's an academic project and you did it for grades. That was the motivation mostly. But what I want to see is what personally motivates you. What is your drive? What is the kind of thing that you like to do? What do you do in your free time? What is your side hustle? Because that gives me a snapshot of your personality. That gives me a snapshot of your interest, your dedication. How far do you push a project? what what level of quality satisfies you? Because when it's a academic driven project or even a student team project, you're given a prompt, you're given a set of guidelines, and you're trying to follow them. You don't set your own guidelines. I want to see when you get a chance to set your own guidelines, what do you set? How do you that is when There's no guidance, and you define your own process. And that is where I learned the most about you as an applicant, to just see, okay, how does this person work? So I think that is really, really important. And thus I have this sort of graph of how the value of a project increases. So it goes from only academic projects, then I think relatively higher value student team projects. The thing with student team projects is I don't know what exactly role did you play, and how much of it was your contribution. Sometimes people try to list it and state it down, but it still gives a relatively vague image. Then there are passion projects, which I really love. And then the extreme is personal passion projects that turn into a side hustle. If you have a passion project that you're like, oh, I put this on Instructables. People really liked it. Now they're making it, and I'm making more copies of it. I think that to me shows extreme dedication towards your craft. This snip is from a passion project that I did, which is a non-motorized camera slider. It uses a measuring tape. So you pull the measuring tape out and let the slider retract. So this was my take on the fact that not everything needs to be smart. We need dumb and simple objects that just work. So through this project, I'm stating my ideology. And I think that's what I want to see. Like, what is your philosophy? What is your ideology? How do you want objects to be? What is your style? And that is only evident through passion projects. Second is build vocabulary. Again, I like to see how do you make things? How well do you work with your hands? Because at the end of the day, I'm not just trying to make a concept. I want to make products that ship. Yes, there are studios that are just making concepts, but most of the times it's like, okay, we have to make this thing real. And I want to understand, can you make real things? So many student projects, portfolios that I see, don't even have prototype pictures. It's like only CAD snips. To me, like CAD snips say that, okay, you know how to use the CAD software, but everything fits in CAD. Everything works out in CAD. Can you even manufacture it? We don't know because it's in CAD, right? So I want to understand, do you have a sense of manufacturing? Do you have a sense of prototyping? And can you develop your own processes? That's the extreme of this graph, which is sometimes people just surprise me with how they put together things, how they use material. I saw a project where they had to make something, a really chunky structure out of wood. And I was like, there's no way this person used this much wood to make it. But then I realized it's actually laser cut MDF sheets that they've stained with hand to give that look of wood. And it really looks like it's real wood. So that to me is like, okay, you developed your own sort of unconventional side of thinking to develop something, right? Then there was another example where someone used crayons, like melted the crayons on a inset, which was a logo, to create that two material finish. I think that's a great idea. So that's what I'm trying to see. Are you innovative with your processes? Are you, challenging what's the norm? So this one goes from no real prototypes to only 3D printed prototypes. I think 3D printing is really easy right now. So I see a lot of 3D printed prototypes, and I'm like, okay, 3D printing is just, you exactly the next step after CAD. You did the CAD, and you 3D printed it. So what else? So the next step is off-the-shelf components and low-fidelity prototypes. I think I really value low-fidelity prototypes because it shows that from the very beginning, you want to be hands-on, you want to experiment and learn, and you are playing with tangible objects. Using off-the-shelf components is I would say is a talent, because many times people just design things and they're like, oh, this could be a custom part. But when you're working at a part as a part of a startup or even big companies, at the early stages, you don't have the luxury to get custom parts. So you should know how to make with off-the-shelf components. Then the next stage is using some form of manufacturing technique or showing some form of manufacturing technique. If your portfolio has a project that shows sheet metal parts or machine parts, then I know that you know how to design for that manufacturing technique. Then I know that you can design similar parts. So that is the progression of build vocabulary. I like to see a diverse variety of different building techniques in the portfolio. And that's something, because that really translates to how would you build things at that job or in that project. This image here is a again a project from my own portfolio, which shows this was a seat cushion for pregnant women, and it shows 3D printed prototypes, foam prototypes, different types of foams. There's an electrical, like electronic seat, which was for pressure mapping. We use off the shelf, like available seats, chairs, and put our cushion on them. We didn't try making our own chair as such. We tried different modes, like movements, like a removable cushion. So we tried different things, and that's what I like to see. I like to see a diverse variety of, okay, what did you try? Was it, oh, this is the first idea I had, this is I made, and this became my project? Or was it I considered a range of things, then I qualified based on testing, user testing, merit, whatever, and then I prototype them further, tested again. That's the process I like to see. That's a decision-making process you should show in the portfolio. The third element of a good portfolio is storytelling. I think many times we forget that at the end, whatever we are doing is for people. We're making things that will be used by people. We're making things that people are going to tell us if it's good or bad. And that's why it is very important to include people in your project, in your storytelling. If you think about a movie, generally how it begins is it gives you context, how the things were, everything was fine, this family was living together. Let's talk about Finding Nemo. So in Finding Nemo, everything's good. Nemo lives with his parents, everything's fine, he's living a happy life. Then a trigger event happens, Nemo is lost. That shows, okay, the tension around it. Then it shows what the parents did to find Nemo. Then it shows the process of what did you do to solve that trigger event. And then at the end, it shows the ending, which in Finding Nemo's case is they found Nemo. They were happy again, and that's how the movie ends. So it shows a wave of emotions. It shows a wave of how people interacted, liked, what did you do to improve that interaction, and at the end, what was the result. So it starts with the context, then you have the problem, then you have the problem solving process, and then you have the result. That's a typical storytelling process, and that's what I like. Many times what I see in portfolios is people just put together things that they've made, but there's no indication or like explanation of what problem is it actually solving, or like what happened at the end. You made this thing great, but what was the result of it? So I think that's missing. This screenshot from my portfolio again shows different prototypes, different people we tested with. We went to a chiropractor's clinic, tested our seat cushion. We tested with real moms in their fourth trimester, which is like after they have the baby. And then we also tried different bodysuits to test our prototypes. So it show like you have to show people as a part of your process. You have to show how the emotions sort of vary through the process. So in this graph of how storytelling is shown in different portfolios and what is valued the most, I think it starts with portfolios that only show the result of the project. It's like, oh, I made a vase and that's it. I 3D printed a vase. So it has no problem definition, it has no process, it's just the result. Then there's some process. People say, oh, I CAD'd this vase and then I 3D printed it and that's it. So that's at the lower levels of weightage or value. Then when you explain the context plus problem definition plus process, that's when it starts to become valuable. Oh, this vase is so I forget to water my plants. And as a result of that, my plants keep dying. For that, I tried a bunch of different techniques to make a vase. I 3D printed three vases and then I made one out of ceramic. And this is the end result. See how much more impactful that set of statements is. Because you started with saying, okay, this is the problem I'm solving. This is what I tried, and this is what I ended up. So that is really impactful. The next level of improvement is you show your failures. You show the attempts that didn't work, and you explain the why behind the decisions. Because I want to see what you tried, what did not work, what you learned. I really want to understand how, or like whoever is reviewing your portfolio wants to understand what journey did you go through. So you want to show the failed attempts as well. You want to show, okay, this did not work. Because of that, I learned this new point and incorporated that in the next prototype. And that's how I landed up at this thing. So that is really important. That shows me you tried a bunch of things and there was a learning sort of process which qualified the final product. And when everything, like everything that I said, is weaved in a story, that's what makes a good storytelling project. And the final, I'd say the element of a good portfolio is visual assets. Many times I see just CAD snips in the 3-point lighting of SolidWorks, the white grayish. And that to me is the lowest effort of including something in your portfolio. At least go with a white background, right? Make your pictures big and impactful because nobody's reading the text at once. They're only going through the pictures. And then once you have big, clean pictures, remove all the noise. You're fighting for attention. If if the person is reviewing your portfolio in 10 seconds, then maybe they have like 1 second on one slide. And in that one slide, if you have one or like if you have 5 images, so the attention is divided in 5 images, then in each of the image, if there are other objects other than your like your prototype or product, then the attention is split into those things. They're trying to process everything. So subconsciously, we always try to process everything that we see on the screen, right? So you don't want the attention to be fragmented. You only want to show focused images of what you want to show. Be intentional with what you want to show, and then build the story into the images. So for example, this image here is again a snip from my portfolio where I said that I injection molded some part and like got it assembled. This is what it looks like. This is the entire screen. So like 80% of that screen is the image itself. That is an impactful image. You see it, you know that, okay, it's a manufactured prototype. But then what does this manufactured prototype do? Why did I do it? What's the reason I have it here? So assembly time cut down to 1/3. Cost came down from $35 to $3. And operations went down from 9 to 3. This is the impact. This is the impact of this image. And then here I'm using text in a way that supports the image. So the green here says, oh, improvement. Those are the improvements that I made from the previous versions. So I'm using text formatting in my favor to accompany the strength of my image. And that makes it a good visual thing. You see the image, you know, okay, this is a manufactured prototype. How did it help you? It helped me in this way. So I'm not writing a paragraph here. Straight bullets, straight to the point, use text to your benefit. And then my most common portfolio feedback, I think we're already at 10:30, so I'll quickly go through my most common feedback. I think I review a lot of portfolios. For the internship, I did like more than 100, and then I keep reviewing on a rolling basis. The most common feedback I give to people is cut down the number of projects. So let's think about it. I haven't met you, or the recruiter hasn't met you. This is the first time they're learning about you. If you show 8 projects, out of which 4 are great and 4 are average, then your overall portfolio is above average. But if you show only 4 projects and all 4 of them are great, then your overall portfolio quality is great. So only show the great work. Only show the best of your work. No need to show everything. 3 to 5 is the ideal number of projects in a portfolio. Visual storytelling, hide all the text in your portfolio, go through the images and think, does it convey the same meaning? Only with the images, without any explanation, does it still tell the same story? If not, change the images, make the images bigger, cut down the text, and that's how it's a hack to build visual storytelling in the portfolio. Hammer down on one key message. I think every person should have one strength, which is their extreme strength, and other things as a breadth. So you should have both breadth and depth. In my portfolio, for example, my key strength is iterative development. So I almost in every project, I show all the prototypes, not all, but like different versions of prototypes that I made on my journey. So that's one key message that I'm hammering down on. And then the final point is for every element, every text, every picture, every decoration that you do in your portfolio, ask if it adds value. If it doesn't add value, it doesn't need to be there. If you have some random decoration line in your portfolio, it doesn't add value, take it out. Some picture that conveys a meaning that is already conveyed by the picture next to it, take it out. You want it to be extremely focused and intentional. And then finally, how I suggest using feedback is you'll get a lot of feedback on your portfolio. I get a lot of feedback on my portfolio. If I start following every feedback that I get, then my portfolio is not me. It's all of us, right? If I try to follow everything that everyone says me, then my personality is lost. Then my take, my style is lost. So you cannot follow every feedback that you get. So I think you need to have a filtering mechanism to filter down the feedback that you get. So once you get a feedback, the first question, you should accept it, take it, and then the first question should be, does it align with me? Do I agree with it? You should question the feedback always. And does it align with my style? Does it align with what I'm trying to do? Does it align with what sort of jobs I'm applying to? So the first question should be, does it align with me? And then the second question would be, can I execute it within a certain time frame? This is really important because we take on projects that are beyond the scope of what we can do right now. And as a result of that, we end up doing nothing. Countless times I've gotten feedback which is like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and then did nothing because in that time frame, I could not execute all of that. So at the end of the day, whatever feedback it is, it has to be executed. If you cannot execute it, then it's not viable right now. Maybe later in future when you have more time, more space, you can execute it. But for now, the only feedback you want to go forward with is what you can execute. So that's it for the presentation. I wanna have some time for questions. I wanna open up for Q&A. Before that, quick plug on something that I'm doing this summer. I'm volunteering for a practical product development course called Pragma. We're gonna go through all things that are not taught in a conventional university course. So things like DFM, practical manufacturing and testing methods, problem definition, industrial design that you won't find, or like more from an industry perspective. The people teaching this are all people who are like working right now. And then we just want to give back. We just want to teach. So that's why I'm doing this. If you are attending this webinar, you get a discount. Reach out to Chris for registrations, discounts, or anything around that. But yeah, this would be really cool. And yeah, with that, I want to open up two questions. We have 5 minutes in this meeting left. I want to hear back from you all.